that is literally it. I just want people to feel good in their body and like know that they're capable of hard things and that they can, strive to be a better person, whatever that looks like for them.
That was Monice Small, founder of Good Form Studios. And this is Epicenter NYC. We connect our communities to news, information, and each other. I'm your host, Amber Castillo. Good Form Studios is a boutique gym in Rockaway Beach that's redefining what fitness means for beginners, like me. Founder Monice Small has built a community-focused space where people of all fitness levels come to feel stronger, more confident, and more connected to themselves and to each other. Today, I sit down with Monice to learn more about her journey from running track in high school to becoming a Pilates instructor and personal trainer, and ultimately starting her own gym. She talks about the challenges she faced, like crowdfunding for her first 400 square foot space during the pandemic, and navigating the complexities of starting a business as an undocumented immigrant with DACA status. Monice also discusses the power of movement, the importance of community, and why everyone deserves to feel strong in their own body. Before we jump in, a quick message from our team.
Hi, I'm Mariana from the Epicenter NYC team. Did you know that anxiety, sleep problems, and muscle pain could be symptoms of long COVID? Take the steps needed to protect yourself, your family, and your plans. Get vaccinated against COVID-19. We can help you schedule your appointment and even arrange you right there. Email us at hello@epicenter-nyc.com or call or text us at 917-818-2690.
Now back to the show. Here's my conversation with Monice.
My name is Monice Small. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the founder of Good Form Studios.
Great. And what is Good Form Studios?
So Good Form is a small boutique gym based in Rockaway Beach where we host multiple classes specifically targeted towards beginner people who are looking to get stronger. So we mainly have strength and conditioning classes. We do some kettlebell work, and then we also do some Pilates. And that's kind of where my background is. I learned Pilates, and then I also became a personal trainer.
When did that journey start?
Well, it's a little bit winded. I'll give you the short version. So I started like my fitness journey in high school. I ran track and field. So I was an athlete for all of high school. I ran track and I played volleyball, took a little bit of a pause in college, got back into sports and exercise. Once I realized I was like, well, I'm not really moving and my body feels like garbage. I went through a couple of injuries. Fast forward, I was able to overcome those injuries through like proper strength training. And then I realized I was like, okay, this is like clearly something that more people need to know about. A couple of things happened throughout my life, whether it was like work and family, but I found myself really gearing towards the fitness industry just because I liked how it made me feel. So then I got my Pilates cert, and then immediately after I wanted to go a little bit deeper. So I actually took the personal training route. So once I did that, the pandemic hit. And I was like, okay, well, I needed to get a job. So I basically started my own business because I was also technically an illegal immigrant because I had DACA and I wasn't able to get unemployment. So there's a lot of layers and a lot of factors playing into the reason why I couldn't get a job / it was a pandemic. So I was I was freaking out a little bit, but I was like, we're going to figure this out. We're going to make it work. And yeah, so I started Good Form in like a tiny 400 square foot space. And I just was taking on one-on-ones and doing virtual sessions. So in order to get that space, I actually crowdfunded, made about $6,000 for the first month to pay the first rent and the down payment of that space. Yeah, I just was like, okay, let's go. And then just kind of asked people around if they wanted to work out with me in my community. And they're like, yeah, absolutely. Because it was a pandemic and no one was doing anything. And people were just like, I need to have an outlet.
When did the crowdfunding campaign happen? And when did you find the space?
No, absolutely. The timeline was kind of fast because I saw the space first, actually. And I saw it and I was like, okay, this could work. Like, this is something that I've never done it before, but I don't see why it wouldn't work. So I saw the space, and then my landlord at the time was like, okay, this is how much it costs. Let us know if you want it. So I was like, yeah, I want it. Well, I didn't have any money. So I was like, yeah, I want it. Just give me like a month. And he was like, okay, it's fine whenever you're ready. So that's when I kind of put out into, social media. I was just like, hey, y'all, like I'm going to be doing some virtual classes. Pay what you can. It was just like donation based, suggested donation. I think I put like $15. And yeah, people just were like so about it. They were so like into it. They took the classes. Even if they didn't take classes, people would donate. And it was really easy to crowdfund at the time. I wasn't even really looking for that much. I just was like, I just need a down payment for the space. So I was like, $5,000, and I got up to 6,000. So
yeah, was there something about the space itself that drew you, or that you could see yourself running some classes out of there?
yeah, well, so this is my smaller space. This is like my beginning space. I'm currently in a much larger space, but in the smaller space, the reason why I liked it was the lighting. It had high ceilings. It was a good size to have like 1 to even 4 people max in that space. And it literally just got the job done. And I also, in my mind, I was just like, $1,000, I can make that happen. Like, that's easy. I could just get like 2 clients and I'll break even. So that was kind of my mindset at the time of just like, as long as I could pay the rent, I'm happy. And it's well exceeded paying the rent. So.
And what do you think it was, either about your story, about what you wanted to do with those funds that drew people to donate so much?
I feel like I have a pretty large network. I worked in the service industry for a while, and every single space that I've been able to occupy and work in, like I've always been able to like build on that network. On top of that, like I'm a pretty like personable person. Like people are drawn to like my energy, not to toot my own horn, but people tend to be, yeah. Every birthday, everyone shows up for me. People are really excited to be around me, and vice versa. I'm like an extrovert to the fullest, and I think people were just really proud. On top of like, I'm very honest about like who I am as an individual in terms of like my status in America and like my relationship with money. Like I'm very honest. I'm just like, hey, this is what I'm doing. If you support it, great. At the time, everyone was just like, we got to help each other. Like community was really strong then because we all were kind of suffering and like feeling really disconnected. So that was another way that people were able to just come together and help one another, and vice versa. Like I had plenty of friends who were also crowdfunding whatever they were doing, even if it was just to like pay rent. I was like, yeah, I'll give you something. And yeah, I think people saw that and they're like, yeah, I'll definitely support in that way.
Got it. So timeline-wise, when did you open up the second studio, and when did you hire your first coach?
So my first hire is actually my best friend, Taina. She was with me from the very beginning when I was crowdfunding, and she was just like, she's my best friend. We've been best friends since middle school. So it was effortless, and it's still very good. Like people always like, don't work with your friends. And I'm like, I'm having a great time. Like we're just transparent with each other. Like, it's totally fine. But the first day of opening the larger space was 2022 in, I believe it was August. Yes, it was August because we had like a little party in July. And then, yeah, so August, we opened the larger space. It was officially open. And yeah, that's it. And then I hired 3 coaches. One of them had to move to Florida, Tina, my best friend. And then the second one, she was doing like more dance cardio classes. At the time, we were just kind of like testing out classes and seeing what people were kind of drawn to, seeing what would like stick in the space, what kind of like times would work. And so I was just like, it was kind of just an experiment. The first 6 months, I was like, I don't even know what's going on. I just want to see what happens.
And what did happen? What did you learn from that experiment?
Well, I learned a lot about marketing, honestly. Like if you do not market, people won't come. Like you have to like constantly push, and it takes a lot of prodding to get people to exercise.
Yeah. And you had mentioned some being in the service industry for a while before this. Could you speak about how some of those roles might have had some transferable skills for this? And what kinds of roles did you have?
Yeah, so it's actually really funny that you say that because I always attribute my service industry background to what I do now, meaning my interpersonal skills. So I was a bartender at a brewery, and then I was also a server on the Upper West Side. And then I worked at a cafe. So I've done every single like type of service in terms of food, because a cafe is really early, and then food is, and then bartending. So for me, what I really, really loved about serving was getting to know people. Like I would meet so many people. People would always offer me jobs. They'd be like, "You have such a good personality." And I'm like, "Thanks." And then see you later. But for me, what I didn't like was how fleeting it was. It was always like, like maybe like a 25-minute interaction. And I'm mostly just giving you your food. Sometimes people want to talk, not always. But like when you built that like connection, you're just like, "Oh, that was nice." But then it's like, I might never see you again. So here we are. So for me, becoming so comfortable with people in like the broader sense, it was so natural to do that for fitness. I was like, I'm just gonna talk to you casually, and people really resonate with that. Like they are like, "Wow, I thought you were gonna be like a drill sergeant and like just constantly count reps." And I'm like, "That sounds like a terrible time. I don't even want to do that." So no, like we're gonna have a conversation. I want to get to know you more. I want to learn more about you, because it also helps with your fitness if I know more about you as a person, because I can tell when you're tired, because you just told me, you didn't get much sleep that past weekend, or like you're going through stuff. So for me, it was the interpersonal skills. Like a lot of times my clients now, or what I recognize in the years, is that I'm the first person a lot of my clients tell that they're pregnant. They're like, "Mo, I'm pregnant." I'm like, "Did you even tell your husband?" They're like, "No." And I'm like, "Well, okay, yeah, this is great." And like, it's really beautiful. It's like we've created this bond. But I'm like, wow, this is so wild that people like will come to me first over everyone. And I'm like, huh, okay, this is interesting. Yeah.
And you're from Rockaway. You grew up in Rockaway.
Okay. I was born in Jamaica, the country. And then I was raised in Atlanta until middle school, until like the end of middle school. And then I moved to Long Island.
Ah, okay. And now you're back in Rockaway, or only working in Rockaway?
I live in Rockaway. I've been in Rockaway for about 11 years now.
Got it. Do you feel like that's your community now?
Oh yeah. It's funny because my husband is he was in a band, and he was the one who was like really popular. Like everyone would see him. We would walk on the boardwalk, everyone's stopping to say hi to him. And I'd be like, "Oh my God, this is so annoying. You're like the mayor." And now it's like kind of happening to me. And I'm like, "Oh gosh, wait, this is
through good form."
Yeah. Oh yeah. Everyone knows who I am. And that's not me being like, everyone knows who I am. It's just like, no, it's like people see you online and they see you in person. They go to my classes. And then also I've worked in a lot of the spaces in Rockaway. So I worked at the Rockaway Hotel. There's this coffee shop out here. And then I worked at the brewery. So people recognize me from even those like parts of my life when I worked at other businesses.
What role do you think the business plays in that community?
Yeah, I feel like the role we play is almost inspirational, motivational. Like people will see us and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like how y'all are so amazing. Like I want to be in that space and I want to work out with you." On top of the fact that we do so many community events, and like we're almost like this like fitness hub, because now there's a jujitsu gym next door to us. So we do things together, and people see us and everyone is just always so enamored. They're like, "Wow, fitness." And I'm like, "Yeah, come work out. Like, it's okay." Like, it's just very like motivational for a lot. And also it's a place to go, especially in the winter. The winters are brutal. And we have a lot of people in this neighborhood who are big surfers and outdoor people. And yeah, some people will leave for 6 months out of the year because they're like, "I need somewhere warm." But the people who are like, "I'm in New York, I'm hunkered down. This is like a nice break away from the monotony of winter blues," which is very big. Like seasonal depression is like major out here.
And so the other coaches at Good Form are also mostly doing personal training, or is it also like a combination with group classes? And if you could describe what these group classes are, it sounded a bit like a complete body workout.
Yeah. So all of our coaches, they do teach classes, but I really like this about them. They all kind of have their own businesses. So some of them Like Taina, she actually started her own thing called Club 88, where she does like activations, like dance cardio classes. So she's more on the instructor side. She's the only one who kind of like just does classes. She doesn't do one-on-ones. And then the other coaches kind of have their specialties, right? So they all teach classes, but then they also do one-on-ones with people around New York City, not necessarily just at Good Form. I'm not here to like say like you need to only be at Good Form. I'm like, no, I think it's great that you want to branch out and like build on your own personal training business. But the classes actually help to kind of get people to get to know them. Like that's a big reason why people work with me, because they took a class with me and they're like, I really want to work with you one-on-one now, you know? And I'm fine with that. Like there's plenty of opportunity. Like people are going to spend money on fitness if they really want it. Like I have plenty of people who take classes with me. They have a membership at the Y. They do classes in the city. They do one-on-ones with me. One person. They're doing all of those things because they just really love fitness and that's what they're focused on now.
And are the coaches all also women of color, like women that are from Rockaway or like that represent the community somehow? Can you speak about that?
Yeah, most of our coaches are women of color. And then we have 2 men. And I vet the men very like with like a almost like terrifying process, because I'm very specific about the men who work within our space, because men in fitness, I don't know if you know it, they can be a little problematic. And I just will not have it, because we have different types of people who come in, non-binary, we have trans, we have women who are like very like nervous to like even train around other people, much less a man. So like, not going to lie, I'm going to vet the men in a more severe process, not severe, but just a little bit more in depth to see kind of the vibe. And they're excellent. Like I love them. They're very good at what they do and they're very respectful. And that's literally all I care about. I just need you to be respectful and understand that like, this is the culture. And they're like, yeah, we're in it. I'm fine with that. So that's great. And then the women are, mainly women of color. Everyone is kind of around the same age. A lot of teachers. We have a lot of teachers who are also coaches. So that's
yes,
really
that's
great.
Transferable.
Oh yeah, they're good to go. Like you don't have to, and they're like whipping them into shape. They're like, hey, all eyes on me. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, let's do that. And then the types of classes that we have, our main class is called Body Camp. It's a full body strength and conditioning class. It's made for all levels. Anyone can take it. You don't need to be we have age ranges from 21 to like 75. So like any age can really take that class. And then we have a class called Booty Camp. Booty Camp is a fan favorite. It's because girls want to build the booty. We really specialize on like compound lifts. It's a lot of exercises that are just geared towards your glutes, and they work. We just know that for a fact. And then the last class is Pilates. I teach that every Saturday. That's more of a class that's lower impact, people who are looking for a little bit more active recovery. So they're not looking to be strenuous, but maybe they're really focusing on the mind-muscle connection, developing the breath control, even learning to brace your core and understand more of how the core plays a role within your strength training, but then also in your day-to-day. So that's a really popular class. Yes, because I teach it, but also because people first of all, Pilates is just really trendy right now. And then people really love working their core. They're like, oh my gosh, I really feel it. I'm like, yeah, good. That's a good thing. So those are 3 classes.
And what's been the biggest challenge for you since starting Good Form?
I would say the biggest challenge is the endurance of it all. Like, I think people think business is like, you have to be confident and you have to like be a go-getter. You're not going to be a confident go-getter every single day, but you have to do something. Like you have to have your non-negotiables. And for me, that's tough. That's every day you have to show up in some capacity, especially when you first start. Now it kind of tapers off as you build and you have a solid team who will help you. But like, when I first started, I was like, oh goodness, again. Okay, we're back at it again. We just have to keep going. And it's just a matter of doing the thing every single day, every day. There's no breaks. There's no breaks for a new business. And we're still pretty new. So that is hard. Having the endurance, even when you're like, I'm emotional, I have my period and I just want to cry today. You're like, well, that's too bad. I need to send this email out and I need to make sure that all of these things are sent and schedule our social media posts. But you know what? Even if I can just do 3 of those things, fine, I did it. I can go cry later, but I just have to work hard. Like you have to have that endurance or else it just isn't going to work anymore. So yeah, that's tough.
What brings you the most joy?
Oh, okay, that's a good one. The most joy would probably be seeing the clients and the members finally get it. Not necessarily just feeling like they're building a routine or they're getting stronger, but like they finally understand why people like this. And you can see it. Like I just had a client even 2 days ago. She just lifted a PR and she started to tear up a little bit. Like, and I started to tear up a little bit. And she's like, I can't believe I lifted that. I've never lifted anything that heavy before. And she's a small girl. She's like 4'11". She's never strength trained in her life. And she's just like, she came to me. She was a little bit like nervous. And I was like, I got you, girl. Like, we're in this together. Like, don't worry. And literally it just happened. And like, she was like, I'm in it. Like, I'm like, what do we have to do next? Like, how do I get to this next level? And I'm like, okay, we got her. Like, took a few weeks, but we got her. Like, she is so ready. She's down. And like, even if she doesn't work with me, and I said this to other clients, even if you don't work with me, I just want you to keep moving. I just want you to like find a love and appreciation in the process. Because if you don't, you're not going to keep moving. So for me, you know, that is like such a joy to witness, especially if they've never had that before, because maybe they weren't athletes in their past or they didn't have a movement practice in any capacity. So now that they have something and they're like committed to it and they're like really stoked on it, like that drives me because it's like, okay, we're doing it. We're like, this is what it's about. And like, yeah, that's something that like, even now, like I could feel my heart rate coming up because I just am like, ugh, it just makes me so happy to see people just find like their power and find their like, oh, hell yeah, like it feels really good to be strong, especially women. Like, I'm like, yeah, it feels good to be strong. Like, don't let anyone tell you like, don't be too strong. That's a crazy thing to tell someone. I don't understand when people say that. They're like, you don't want to get too strong. What are you talking about?
Is this something you hear from some clients?
Oh my gosh. All the time, because people equate strength to physique. You know, they're like, well, if you get too strong, you're just going to bulk up it. And that's not true. It's not how the body works. Like, and once you kind of break that barrier down for people, they're like, oh, I'm like, yeah, you look at these gymnasts. They're not like super big. They have to be small, but they're really strong. And like, everyone has to recognize like strength does not equate to physique. You can be strong and not be like a massive person. I see it all the time. And I think the more women especially learn that, I think the better we're going to be as a community, because like women are very physique driven. I mean, everyone's physique driven, but within the toxic fitness industry, physique is at the forefront, right? People want to look a certain way in order to like live their life. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's break that down. So yeah, that's it.
And just lastly, what's your future vision for Good Form? What would you like to do more of, less of? Yeah, how do you see it changing?
Well, I really want to open another space. Particularly, I've been looking at like Harlem and Brooklyn. I'm not someone who's like power hungry or want to be like in a big, like I don't want a franchise. I don't want it to be this like conglomerate. I truly just want it to be like a community hub. If it makes me enough money to work 3 days a week, I'm good. I'm good with that. I'm really not here to like really work at it and like go hard and like fundraise and get this thing to be this like massive company, because I understand the level of commitment that takes and I just don't have it. I don't even want it. I just want a calm, happy life that allows me to stay connected with people and allows me to really do the work that is meaningful to me, which is building on those connections and making sure people feel really good in their body. that is literally it. I just want people to feel good in their body and like know that they're capable of hard things and that they can, strive to be a better person, whatever that looks like for them.
If Monice's story inspired you, visit Goodform Studios' website at goodformny.com to learn more about their classes and community events. You can also follow them on Instagram at goodform_studios for the latest updates. And if you know of a local business that you think Epicenter should feature, let us know. Drop us a note at hello@epicenter-nyc.com. That's all for today. Thanks for listening, and thanks for supporting us as we do our best to support our community. We couldn't do it without you. For more stories like this, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter at epicenter-nyc.com. Our intro music is All the Pretty Horses by Caravika. You can find more of their music on their website, linked to in our podcast description.